you there. That'd be nice. As she does that, we'll get started. This
I'm
is
working on it.
Okay, all right, as long as we can hear you. So.
We heard you though, good luck.
I'm working.
Yeah, just for attendance, we need to make sure that it's really you, not anyone else.
Okay, hang on.
Well, we can hear your voice, so that's good, as long as we hear one of them, so.
Is that okay? Because I'm afraid I'm gonna lose you if I mess too much.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
Okay,
So,
okay.
This is the Centerville Community School District. Our mission statement is that all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. Tonight we're having a regular board meeting. We're going to talk about that in a minute. March 18th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. in the Centerville Admin Office. I'd like to go ahead and start with a roll call the meeting to order, and start with a roll call, please.
Berger's absent. Carter is absent. Heffron.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Viscus.
Here. Yep, so Carol, we're glad you're able to call in tonight. Hope everything's going well with your family.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know Derek said a conference from work, and Tim had some family things that came up at the last minute tonight, so he's also helping some family out right now. So I appreciate everybody being here in person, so we do have a forum in person. That is kind of important. I'd like to welcome visitors, and I know we have some student presentation tonight. That's awesome. I am going to read our statement for public comments before we get into anything. So this is per board protocol before we go into the public forum. We'd like to remind all students, I'm sorry, I'm going to start over. We'd like to remind all speakers that while this is an open forum for any issue, praise, or concern, the board does expect all speakers to maintain a civil tone and refrain from using profanity, raising their voices, or making statements that are threatening or harassing towards others. Any speaker creates a disruption may be asked to leave the meeting. We also want to remind all speakers that any comments that may be made during the public comments are done so at the risk of the person making the comment, and that the district will not be responsible for defamatory or potential defamatory statements which may be made about a particular person. It is the board's practice not to engage or respond to speakers during the public comment session, regardless of the topic or concern. The board wishes to further discuss or address an item or concern raised in public comment will do so by establishing an item agenda, the future board meeting, or delegating that responsibility to the administration to address the issue. With that, are there anybody who would like to speak to the board in the public forum? Seeing none, we'll close the public forum and move on to approving the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
Aye.
Aye, okay. We gotcha. There is no old business. We'll move on to new business with student presentations.
So we have a couple girls that are going to be in the all-state speech. Got Jennifer Smalley and Taylor Martin. We're going to do this kind of, Jennifer's in spontaneous speaking, which means she draws what she's going to talk about, and then she works on it for a little bit. So we're going to have Jennifer draw, and then Taylor's going to do her speech, and then we'll have Jennifer, okay?
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks.
You only get one.
I get to look at.
Oh, you get to look at all of them. Okay. All right, Miss Taylor. Taylor's going to be doing prose.
All right, where do you want me to stand at?
You should stand right here.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Well, shoot, it's like only like, I feel like I'm right here, so I'm looking at everyone this way. Okay, all right. Wait, no, three. Give me three. I'll be fine with three. Ready? All right, okay. In The Bra of My Dreams by Kathy Lee Phillips, we go over girlhood puberty and its greatest foe, finding the right bra. The Madras schoolgirls' restroom was packed with fourth graders watching up after morning recess, when Betsy Fowler's shrill voice rang out above the chatter. Well, look at this! My bra strap just won't stay in place. An uneasy silence enveloped the girls' restroom. Betsy shoved a very obvious white strap underneath the shoulder of her sleeveless pink and white polka dot dress and smiled smugly. I hated her at that moment. Needless to say, the rest of the day was a blur. I wanted a bra in the worst way, and by the time the final bell rang, it was an obsession. As the bus stopped, I jumped off and raced up the driveway. I blurted, Betsy Fowler has a bra, and I just got to get one. Mama took one step back before muttering, "You don't need a bra." Horrified, I did what any other normal fourth grade child would do. I nagged, I pestered, I whined. I accused my mother of not loving me. I brooded and sulked. I was obnoxious and bratty. When I climbed into bed on Thursday night, my beleaguered mother surrendered. "I will pick you up after school tomorrow, and we'll go to town and buy you a trainer." A trainer? I began to worry. A trainer? What was a trainer? Was it a bra? If so, was it lacy and white? Did it have a pink flower on the front? And furthermore, was I ready for a trainer? I didn't know training was involved in this particular growth process. Didn't the contents of a bra just grow naturally? What was I supposed to train them to do? And what if I trained them wrong? After all, I was only 9 years old. Without realizing it, I could disfigure myself for life. Training? This was a lot of responsibility to place on a fourth grader. I hardly slept at all. True to her word, Mama was waiting for me when the final school bell rang. My stomach hurt, and I was afraid I would throw up long before we walked into Kessler's. Inside, we met a tall lady with gray hair and tiny glasses perched on the end of her nose. "We've come to purchase a bra," Mama announced. Over the top of her glasses, the gray-haired lady looked at me. "I think we need a trainer," she said. She walked toward a rack holding small, pastel boxes. She opened a blue box and held up a trainer. My stomach relaxed, and I began to breathe normally. It was a bra, and it was perfect. It was a brilliant white. Lace decorated the bottom, and to my delight, a petite pink flower sat front and center. Trainer or not, it was the bra of my dreams. Surely Betsy Fowler had not a finer bra. "We'll take it," Mama announced. I left the store without saying a word, but as I walked toward the door, I was sure everyone was staring at me, fully aware that a bra rested inside my brown shopping bag. Monday morning came. I awoke before the alarm sounded. My dress had been carefully chosen, pale yellow tulips on a blue background. It was sleeveless, of course, thus allowing my bra strap to make an appearance at a strategic moment during the school day. Climbing aboard the school bus, I felt like a true woman of the world. Arithmetic was my first class that day. The teacher called my name. "Kathy, could you come up to the board and show us to work this problem?" I walked slowly to the front of the room, selected a piece of chalk, and lifted my arm to write the numbers on the blackboard. As I did, the bra lurched upward. It climbed toward my throat, twisting and pinching as it moved. Had some demon, intent on ruining my life, gained control of this innocent garment? The bra kept crawling higher and higher until it seemed ready to shoot through the neck of my dress. I was sure everyone in the class could see an abnormal wrinkle crisscrossing my chest. Holding me in its tight grip, the wicked combination of elastic and lace threatened my dignity and bound my upper chest until I could barely breathe. Excusing myself quickly, I ran to the bathroom. I was no longer interested in showing my strap to Betsy Fowler and the other girls in my fourth grade class. I was interested in pure, basic survival. As I jerked the bra back into place, what could I do with this cursed object? I had no purse. I couldn't just stuff it into one of my books. There was no alternative. I had to wear the horrible contraption until the end of the day. I could do it, I told myself, as long as I didn't move my arms. Thus, I spent the rest of the day walking like a short robot programmed to keep my arms glued tightly to my side. I stepped off the bus that afternoon completely defeated. Walking silently to my room, I removed the cursed garment and stuffed it in the back corner of my dresser drawer. I prayed I would never see it again. Mama never mentioned the bra again. Neither did I. I have worn many bras since that horrible day at Madras School so long ago. I have worn cross your hearts, two hookers, back hookers, and front hookers. I have worn sports bras, strapless bras, and bras with frayed straps held together with a few strategically placed safety pins. I've worn white bras, black bras, and once, on a dare, a leopard skin bra. Occasionally, I still wear a bra with a tiny pink flower on the front.
Well, Ward, any comments?
Well done. Yes.
Thank you.
They're all afraid.
Thank
I will
you.
say this, I'm not gonna address the subject matter. Other than the intent of the story, I had a boss that once told me, better be careful what you ask for, you might just get it. Because that's kind of what happened.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You did a wonderful job on delivery, you had great voice inflection, and you were very entertaining in the presentation.
Thank you.
So, thank
Good
you.
job.
Definitely an all-state worthy performance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Okay.
What is the biggest issue for students in schools today? I believe that the answer to this question is a lack of administrative presence directly in the school. I have 3 main points to back this up, and they are the mental health of students, the lack of connection between students and administration, and leading to student misconduct. The mental health of students. I do believe that this is very important, as I am a student in a high school. I think that mental health of students is completely overlooked a lot of times, not just in our school, in no way is this personal, but it's in schools all over the Midwest, all over the country. I think it is great that many things have been tried to be done to make mental health better, but how can administration know what needs to be done if they are not directly in the schools experiencing it? How can you know what a student may be struggling with if you don't know the student's name? How can you know these things? These are things that administrator needs to be in the school. They need to be seeing these students, and they need to know what they are struggling with in all across age, K through 12, all of them. This leads to a lack of connection between students and administration. I do believe that students should see administration as authoritative figures, but I don't think at any age level they should ever be intimidated by them. Especially in a community that struggles with poverty and rough home lives, they should see administrators as somebody that they can come to, somebody who is safe, and somebody who will help them in a time of need. If they're intimidated by you, there's almost no way that that student's ever going to feel comfortable to come to you, and they will continue to struggle alone, which will lead to poor mental health, poor sports performance, and poor academic performance, all which reflects our school. This all leads to student misconduct, especially in the older levels. If a student is not close with an administrator, if a student doesn't see the administrator in the building often, in a certain area often, they're going to know what they can get away with, and they're going to do it. I know so many kids who misconduct every day. They do stuff they should not be doing, but they know they can get away with it because there's only 1 to 2 people that are there that can punish them or check what is happening. If students have a proper connection with admin, they may behave better, because as for me personally, if I have a connection with somebody, rather than just seeing them as an authoritative figure, I'm going to be a lot less likely to misbehave, because I don't want them to give me that disappointed face. But like all issues, I do have a possible solution, one of the easiest solutions. I think simply having more administrators would help a lot. Like I said, 1 to 2 people cannot oversee an entire school body in any way, shape, or form. I just wish that one day we can see in schools all across America that administrative presence is more direct in schools, and that we can see administrators build a connection with students. Thank you.
Okay, did that not line up perfectly with, so I've shared some of the legislative concerns that have come up this year of where the legislature was pushing the 5% of administrative costs and non-teaching costs, and thinking about, here we have from a student saying, we need more of those people to help us out with this. I think that is super timely right now.
I don't know if you know, the state's trying to limit how much you can spend on administration.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So like, and that counts secretaries and,
Yeah.
and some of those other positions in this, so
Yeah.
great timing on that. Great timing.
You can lobby for us.
In 3 minutes, you came up with all that.
You both did a great job. Very few
Yeah.
people get to go to All-State, so
Yes.
congratulations. And that speaks well of you and our school district, so nice job, guys.
Yeah, for just having that for a short period of time, that's very well constructed for just doing something off the.
Yeah, I'm taught how to, I was told to format them the same way I would an essay for Mrs. Hill's class. So that's what I go off of.
You're by
Good
chance
job.
gonna go into law school, are you?
No, I was debating it for a little while, but that's a lot of schooling.
Well, you're able to form some logic and arguments very quickly, so that would be a useful skill in that.
Are you both going to do something that uses your speaking skill, I hope, because
I
you
am.
both have wonderful speaking.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm wanting to go into nursing more, but
You have to be able to talk to people.
yeah,
It's a
definitely.
big deal.
I
Yeah.
would like news.
News, yeah, that would definitely require a good deal of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing some of that, I think, with the pitch.
I'm
aren't you?
interning with the pitch,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Good job.
Great job.
Great
And
job.
when is Allstate? Can you kind of give us the scoop
That
here?
it is next Monday, right?
Yes, it's
25th
next Monday.
Yep, and that's gonna be at UNI.
And so you go out there and it'll just be on campus?
Yep.
Yeah, so basically there's like sections of people that are all doing either the same thing as us or similar things, and you stay there for the section, you perform, and then you get your critics, and it should be a good experience.
Do you get a rating or do you just get
I don't
the,
think it's not really a rating, you
comments?
just get like critic
just?
criticism, and then
Yeah.
everyone gets a medal, so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you deserve it to be there.
But it's
Yeah.
only like 1% of the
Yeah.
kids in speech, so
It's
when you
like,
say everybody gets a medal, you're still the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
500 out of,
Out of like 9,000, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not really like that.
So we should be really proud to have two, and especially two who are gonna represent us as well as you two are going to.
Thank you.
Well, good luck on on your ventures up there, so you'll get a completely different subject, you will never even draw
No,
something.
so what they do is they give me like topics, but they're very vague. Like school safety will be one of them, and like they're very vague topics that you are just expected to know stuff about. And so then you draw it and you get more specific
So like
questions.
nuclear non-proliferation or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, honestly, there's a lot about China and missiles that I really know
Yeah,
nothing
so
about
literally.
Nuclear
that.
non-polar.
That worked out. Yes, nailed it.
I'm gonna read off the paper.
That could be tell. That is very tell. And you had great inflection with it too. I mean, it's kind of a comedy piece where you knew the right times to pause and the right times to emphasize to really get the effect out of it.
Thank you.
If you read the news like that, people will watch.
That's good to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you girls so much for
Thank
coming in
you.
tonight.
All right, thank you very much.
Our third one asked for a rain check.
Okay, we can do that.
We can do that.
Well, good night.
Thank you.
All right. That was very entertaining,
Yeah.
so. Okay, always love to have student presentations. So move on to item B, approve the keyless entry upgrade project. This is a bunch of money.
Yes, so this is with our new camera system, because we had to make the change from the company that we had been using cameras from. The entry buttons that we have now don't line up with the new camera system, and if we attach them to the new camera system, we wouldn't be able to use the federal funds through the governor's safety grant to be able to buy the cameras. So this allows us to put our entire system on the
Access.
on the Axis, because yeah, there's two companies, one company Access, one company Axis, that gets me, but is it IP?
Yeah, it's all
Where
IP.
like the police department can see in, to see all the different cameras, and this puts it all on one system that way. The high school project money, the technology budget will cover a portion of it. We're hoping to revise some of our governor's safety grant, stuff to possibly cover part of the rest. And then we have some technology budget that we're planning to use for the rest of that. But this will put us all on one system, and none of the Dahua cameras will be on campus anywhere, as those are on the forbidden list now.
Is this just what, basically like what's there now, or is this
It's the,
remote, like the key fob access? or
it'll be
what is-
key fob access, key card. Also, we bid for PIN numbers, which that'll be probably very few people using that. It's also like the buzz-in system as well, so it's all of it.
And it'll be connected in with our camera system, so the neat thing about this system, with this, we'll have the exact system that I used in my previous district, and you can even from your camera system, so the secretary will be able to have it up on their computer screen rather than a separate little tablet there. They'll be able to click on the camera that has a door attached to it and tell it to open that door, rather than having to have the little tablet down here in addition to what they've got. It'll be all one integrated system. And when we do camera views, so we're talking about putting screens up in each of the offices so that they can monitor different views. Our secretaries will be able to monitor each of the entrances that have the badge in, so that they'll be able to actually see all entrances at all times on their big screen in front of them. And usually, you've got enough space to do a couple hotspots too, because it'll be kind of similar to what you're seeing up there right now, where you can have little, I don't know, applets for each camera. So you set up your entryways and then maybe 3 or 4 hallways that are usually kind of the tougher ones. So there's some additional monitoring that can happen throughout the day.
So you said key fob, card,
Yeah, so I mean, every staff member's using the card now to get into the front door, and then with the key lock change, they only have a key to their room. So they should just go through, we'll use the same cards, we'll just take over the new system. Cards are completely separate than Dahlia, so universal.
But this is not gonna do classrooms, this is all.
There's no camera in classrooms, except for like the gym.
The locks.
No, not the classroom lock, just the external
This
door
is
locks
just
like
all
we
external,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a couple additional ones in what we have, or like the high school has
I know
some.
we had a couple additional at Lakeview, one more additional at preschool, and then a few more at the high
Yeah.
school. So you can-
And part of
High
that's
school
like
doesn't have any.
The preschool one, for example, am I right in remembering it's the one right off the playground? So like right now, they have to, hopefully not prop, but they have to do something that gets them back in that door coming off of recess. But now they'll be able to badge in coming off of recess, and maintain safety and security, but still not have to traipse kids all the way around.
So right now, there's 2 at Lakeview, 2 at middle school, 2 at high school, and 1 at preschool.
Well,
So,
the key cards. yeah,
well, like the monitor, the video monitor,
Access places.
For the secretaries,
yeah.
Wait, what?
just.
So there's,
There's just one with, like at preschool, there's only one with the camera.
You're asking how many key entry
Yeah,
places?
Key entry or camera entry?
With
'Cause they're
the,
different.
the page.
yeah, they're different, I guess, so like,
Page in.
so like Lakeview has the video monitor at the main door,
Yeah.
and then the 1 extra on the playground.
I think it's
But
just.
that's not,
backside.
that's not video.
Yeah, because you have to push the button.
Right, and then does,
Are you talking about when they buzz in, you can see them?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so,
We have,
That's existing just on the front door. There is one on the back side of Howard
Mhm.
that is planning to be moved, because we're moving away from people entering in that one. But, then a high school, that's all they have, is that right now.
We don't
They
let
don't have
people
any
in
of the
anyway, but the
keypads.
front door at Lakeview either. That's the plan.
I guess, I didn't see, maybe didn't know how to read this quote, but, so how many are we talking video buzz-in systems at each location?
That'd be similar to what we have now. The only thing that we're adding additional to is the actual key cards themselves,
Okay.
where people can access and get in, like staff.
Okay,
So like, did you end up adding the one, I'm trying to remember, did we add one on the back of the gym with just card access, not a video?
We
but
haven't
just
yet, but there's a conversation.
With this.
Not with this, that'd be the plan.
Yeah. Because we're trying to,
Football,
that one is
get
so that
them
you
in,
know
sports, we'll be able to get them into the gym.
whose cards
yeah.
being used places.
locked doors will do us no good if somebody props it open.
Right.
It defeats the whole, so I would assume that we would have a policy that promotes the idea that
Yeah.
if you're caught propping the door open,
I would tell you, I think our staffs have done a lot better job because we realize the value of that safety. The other thing is oftentimes when law enforcement drives through our building, or drives through our campuses, they stop and walk the building, and most of the time they stop in the administrator's office and tell us what they find, either complimenting it or saying, hey, you gotta tell them when you're unloading the truck, the door still gets shut. I mean, so I think they've really helped keep that as part of our process.
I'll say I haven't gotten any calls at midnight that door's been propped open in the last 6 months or so. So it's getting better.
I've gotten a couple pictures texted to me, but we've addressed individuals with that.
Yeah. Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the keyless entry upgrade project. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? It's approved.
Thank you, I think this will really help.
Approve the proposed FY '25 adopted budget summary.
This is just what you had last week. Last week, nothing's changed, just wanna approve it to go on the paper.
You know, I went through and looked at this, lines 1, 2, and 3 are which we're taxing. Those are the three elements that we're really taxing on. From 2023 to 2025, we're averaging a 1.6% increase in property tax that we're levying. That is phenomenally low compared to what the consumer price index is doing, so nice job on the budget controls.
That's a good number when you get asked a question out on the street.
I saw that and I figured the math out. We're averaging 1.6 a year
Very good.
of what we're taxing people, so. I mean, we're getting a lot more money from the state, but that's different.
Well, not a lot more.
Well,
Mistake.
okay,
Not enough to keep up with inflation.
all right.
Motion to approve the proposed FY '25 adopted budget summary.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second to approve the adopted budget summary. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It passes. I guess I should rephrase and say, the preponderance of the increase in the money we're getting is coming from the state versus property tax.
Yes.
That's probably a better way for me to phrase it.
That's fair,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about board policies.
400 series, as I was telling a couple people before the meeting, I'm 60-ish, 60-some pages through 200 or so of the 400 series. As I kind of got into the day, I had to meet with some parents and some different things that kind of sidetracked me, so I think I'll put Julie in charge one day and work on board policies some more. But what you will find when you get this series this week is the 400 series is very, very different because it is probably the most out-of-date set we have. Actually, it was kind of funny to read some of the, not funny, it was terribly sad, to read some of the technology regulations, technology use for staff, as though, I think maybe the internet must have just been invented or something when they wrote these. Like, I don't think social media existed yet, so there's gonna be a lot of cross out and a lot of italicized. I tried to keep as many of the things in place that were there and cross out parts of sentences and add parts, but I will admit, on some of the policies, I kind of gave up on that and said, just that whole thing is bad. Here's the whole thing that the state gives, just because so much was so different. So just kind of be prepared, and I apologize in advance for how ugly it looks when you get it this week.
So we're still gonna get it ahead of the first.
Oh, yeah.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be an easy weekend.
Worst case scenario, next week's spring break, so like very few people should probably come in my office during that time, I would hope, and think.
All right, so that was more of an update than. All right, district data review, Julie and the principals. Sounds like a band, Julie and the principals.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share and make sure I do this right here. Okay, there we go. Okay. So we just have some student enrollment data, which I won't go over very much because Lisa shared a little bit of that with you last week as well, and then just achievement data. We wanted to just bring you up to date on where we are and some of the scores and things that we have. So right now you can see the 5-year certified enrollment trend is down, which you all know. The certified enrollment is, that red line is the students that are in our resident district that we count, and then the students served or served students is the black line, and those are the students that we actually instruct every day and provide their education. If you have any questions, please stop and ask as we go through. Again, some of these though you've seen, so I don't want to take too much time on them. Preschool numbers, we hit a low in 2020 as the whole state did. We went back up a little bit and then we've kind of seen a trend down. I think it just kind of is a combo of things. This is only the students that we serve in, and including Kids World. It's because it's our certified enrollment. So with our community partners. So you can kind of see where we've been. In 2020 is the year that we moved a teacher to Lakeview and only have 3 4-year-old classrooms, which has worked for us so far. Our numbers are a little bit more up just from what I'm seeing for preschool roundups, so that's exciting. You can see open enrollment tuition out and in. Again, the black line is the open enrollment that we're tuitioning out, so students that are leaving our district, and the red that are coming in. And you can see that that gap is kind of stayed about the same if you really do the math there. It's getting a little wider, but lots of different reasons.
I have a question on the one before the preschool. So the preschool is here, and then the one at Kids World.
So it's
the 4-year-olds there.
Yep, the Kids World 4-year-old room. It's like through dollars. We sign a contract with them that you'll approve.
Okay.
And then we pay them each month.
Okay.
Yep, but
So,
they count as our
I want to
students.
ask a question, maybe this is Mark. I know one of the issues we talked about with open enrollment is
Back to that.
you can transfer out and in and out and bounce in and out as a parent. You can bounce your kid in and out of district multiple times throughout the year. Was this legislature doing something?
They decided not to continue forward with the bill to put a restriction on that anymore.
And these
I suppose the concerns around student safety that we were told were heard and understood didn't matter anymore. That was probably borderline too political, so I'll leave it there.
And these numbers are from our certified enrollment, so from our October 1st data. So these numbers could fluctuate. I mean, we've gotten some in, we've gotten some out. It's kind of a revolving door now that you can do it whenever you want. But this is just the information that was sent to the state as we were trying to do.
And to speak to that, I mean, I hate to say this, but I still think it's right to pursue truancy. Even if that means we're going to lose kids and money because of this open enrollment thing, it's still right to have a standard.
Well, I'm just thinking of the one student that missed like 30 days or something like that, 30 or 40 days, and when you pursue truancy, they just go to another district, and that kid is not getting an education.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a little frustrating.
Okay. Having a standard
Or
is still good, I
homeschool.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't include that, so.
You will not meet everybody's needs.
Right.
You can strive, set yourself a goal, but you can't beat yourself up.
The next slide here is the daily attendance, and unfortunately this is not as up to date as I would like it to be. This is from our school performance profile, which is a few years behind with the data that's shared, but this is the last attendance data that I had that's from them. We can run reports and talk to you. We can tell you that we still fight attendance every day. This also has the Centerville free and reduced lunch, as you can see. From like 1920, it has went down, and that's due to, like, we believe, free lunch from the federal government. Parents didn't have to fill out that free and reduced form, and so hopefully we'll see a trend up when we get some new data in the next year or two. And then the green line is the state free and reduced lunch, which you can see they also kind of made a trend down.
That's the attendance of free and reduced lunch? Okay.
Yep. But I think it's also like attendance in the free and reduced lunch, like population changed because we don't have that as correctly identified. So attendance is a huge issue. As you can see, we've dropped several points, and that's something that has been a big priority of ours this year and continues to be a priority, as Mr. Taylor shared with you last meeting as well. Something that we've been working on as a district is to really look at our vision as a pre-K-12 and what that means and what that looks like. And this is one of the things that I'm really excited that we do now and continue and will continue. As you know, we've presented a lot of data to you with FastBridge and STAR data, and one time the high school used MAP data, and we've kind of been all over the place. But now every 2nd through 12th grader is taking A reading and A math, and these are the scores for that. The red bar on this graph is the fall score, and the gray is the winter score. And it just kind of gives us a tiptoe into what is happening in our system. And then there's also the district percent or the overall percent. You can see that we went down a little bit in some places, we went up a little bit. So it just kind of gives us an idea of looking at different grades. It is not available for K1 because this is very much a comprehension type based test, and it is kind of adaptable. So like depending on how students do, they continue to increase. But it does give us a dip in what is happening in each grade level and then as a system. So I'm really excited that we have this and that we will be able to continue to look at kids' scores as they move through the system and cohorts of kids. And we have found that it's pretty accurate to matching Iowa assessments, not completely, but it does correlate pretty well, which is another good thing to predict.
What do the numbers represent?
The percent of students proficient.
So winter is this winter?
Yep, these are these years.
January.
Yep, so it would be,
January.
fall would have been September and this would have been January.
I want to say,
It was typical for him to go down in.
say winter window is usually kind of tough, as I recall.
And the other thing, remember how many snow days we
Yeah.
had leading up to that? So our kids came back, we had professional development, remember that, we had a couple days there. Then we had a number of snow days, like 5. And,
We would expect to see a pretty good rebound in this.
right, that's what I was gonna say. But the truth is, remember, these scores are really the screener data. So what we're really supposed to do with this data is look at it and say, hey, those kids that are not proficient, what are we gonna do to help get them proficient? This is not a, let's report that to the state and leave it there. This is a, now that you know who is in trouble towards not meeting the number that we're expecting, what are you gonna do now? We just wanna keep that in front of you. That's the screener work.
So
It says, now you see a concern, how are you gonna respond?
obviously we want to have it at 100, right? That's it. But what?
80%, Mike, would be perfect, because they say if your data shows 80%, then your core instruction, the way teachers teach every day in their reading class, that is meeting the needs of the majority, that 80%.
So one thing that should show some improvements on our A-reading scores would be the work that we're going to be doing with letters and early literacy. We did sign on. One, I believe a positive that's come out of this legislative session is the emphasis on the science of reading. We've talked, I think, briefly with this group, either through emails or at the board table, about the reading wars. So over the course of the last half century or so, maybe longer than that, I don't know, there's been a battle between whole language and phonics instruction, where some people are like, well, you gotta give them books, and they gotta get into books and find a love for reading, and that's how you teach them how to read. And then other people are like, no, they have to know how to sound out the words to be able to do that. Well, phonics is winning in a big way now, which I think really helps struggling readers. I really believe in the phonics part of it, and I think a lot of educators are really starting to get that. I kind of hope the pendulum doesn't swing again, because I saw whole language in a previous district, well, you know my career, so then you know where I saw it, and it wasn't good. We switched to phonics and started seeing progress for kids. So I think as we dig deeper into that and get more training in the science of reading for our teachers, I think we'll see some improvement on that. The Wilson work is very science of reading.
I was gonna say, I feel like we are ahead of the game in our district on that. Actually, you guys, I shared with Mark months ago, he came in and we were in a classroom and the teacher was leaving sick, first grade, remember that? And I said something to one of the kids about, today's word is which one of these has these 2 letters, and one of the first graders said, well, it's kind of multisyllabic, Mrs. Schofield. And I said to Mark Taylor, when's the last time you heard that come out of a first grader's mouth? But honestly, that's the way our kids are talking, aren't they, Julie? Julie brought Haggerty to our kindergarten and first grade program. And some of the places that we follow online with best practice of reading, they speak about the work that we are doing with Haggerty and Wonders and Foundations. And that's so exciting to think that the best recommended practice is exactly what we've been doing in Lakeview now for a number of years. But it was really the work of the team when Julie's like, our teachers say there's not enough of this, so they brought that forward.
So the state has an RFP out right now for early literacy curriculum and materials, and it's not at least at this point, it hasn't been shared with us as we're gonna dictate what you teach or how you teach or what program you use. But I would venture to guess that the ones that end up approved as science of reading based materials are that set of materials that Terry's talking about. And that's just a matter of having the skills built into your staff as you turn over staff, as new staff comes in, so that they're able to use that approach with kids.
So this screener is also given in May, and so hopefully in June we'll be able to update you after we've been able to do that, where we landed in the spring on A reading as well. And then we also have it for math. It's called A Math. And again, it's kind of a lot of concepts brought into the math world, and you can see that we did see an increase in most of that across the district, and even at the district level, the average there. So lots of great work, lots of things happening, and I'm just really excited that this is the start of what we can look at K through 12, but really second through 12, but kind of when they've learned a little bit of what they're doing in K1 and can track that and look at that and see how things are going as the health of the district. We're doing a lot of interventions and things with math at Lakeview and working through that some at the middle school, so I think that's a positive that the principals will talk about a little bit here. So now
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Grade 6, reading and math.
Mhm.
That's sort of the end of Lakeview. They got the best numbers. What do you think?
Grade 6 is part of it.
Yeah, grade 6 is at the middle school.
I know they are.
Yeah.
But
So-
they're the product of Lakeview.
Yeah.
At
And
the end of Lakeview's career, I
We've
guess you'd
seen,
say.
we've seen some great things with that. I think it's the momentum of continuing to work through. We talked the other day about exciting things of a few IEP students who've been met their goals, and so they're exiting out of one goal or the program in general. So I think what we're seeing is the work of the elementary school is feeding into the middle school, and there's some things that we're working on at the middle school with interventions and things that we're trying to continue that, to support students the way they are. It's a different world, and so it looks a little different, so we have to adapt and make changes. So I would agree. I think that 6th grade class is the one that we worked so hard last year. I did not. Teachers worked so hard last year with the interventions in math, and I think that's why you see what you see a little bit too. So
I guess I'm trying to process, I still don't understand. We come out into the winter and all the reading went down, but we come out into winter and all the math went up.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Like all math went up and all reading went down.
What I'm gonna tell you, over the course of the time that we've given Fastbridge, we see that every year. I mean, for the 14 years, or the 12 years we've done Fastbridge, that's what we see statewide. I mean, it's not, the true test comes in May, but just like I said, this is just a temperature, you guys. You know, you go to the clinic and your throat hurts, they take your temperature, look in your throat, check your ears. This is just a way for us to take the temperature of our kids' skills. If they're good, then we're gonna stay solid. If not, we're gonna keep supporting interventions to help develop those skills so that we see that on the state test.
When you guys, you mentioned that word a lot, interventions.
Yeah.
Is it interventions of, I mean, as a whole?
So I'm
Or is it
gonna,
interventions on a need to?
I'm gonna tell you about that.
Okay.
If I'm butting in too soon, you tell me. But like, so when we got talking about this work, I said, you know what, this is great. And when we always talk about like the summative and the formative. Formative is, I see this today, so tomorrow I can plan for this. When we get Iowa assessment tests, it's summative. And I don't mean this disrespectful, but it's dead in the water. Those scores are done. What's done is done is done. But what we have done with that is we take these screeners right now. So in 5th grade this fall, we had 44 students out of 93. And I know this sounds so silly, but like you guys saw it. One of the skill sets is place value. And you're like, 5th graders don't know place value? So the question would be, if I have bags of blocks, and I would say, how many blocks do you think are in this bag? And the kids would guess, and I would say, what does the 3 mean? What does the 4 mean? I'm looking to hear 3 10s, 4 1s. I'm looking to hear, would 38 blocks be more or less? How would you know that? You know, we're kind of working through that. But you know what? We found out, you guys, our kids missed 2nd grade math the year of COVID. You know what one of the main topics in COVID, or in 2nd grade math is? Place value. So where did we pick that up? We didn't pick it up because we started 3rd grade, we started going. We started 4th grade, we started going. So we had 44 students in the fall that we said, okay, they need place value. So the teachers work on how many kids they have, if they can do it in their room. So when they have what we call math center time, the kids who got it, they go on and do something higher level with the instruction they get. Then the teacher brings groups of kids back, 4 and 5, works with them. Then Jimmy Durham, our instructional coach, comes in, tests those kids at the end of that lesson. The kids that are done, they join the higher level work. The kids that aren't, we do a second run with. So our 5th grade teachers have done place value, they've done equal signs, they've done fraction understanding now. They've done 3 interventions this year to date. Our 4th graders, we have 46 of them. We started with number sense. Again, it sounds silly, but it's like, you know, so many kids aren't necessarily used to counting 1 through 10. And then we try to get them to count to 100. Then we say things like, show me 76. Which one of these shows 6 1s? You know, it's just basic number sense. And so our 4th grade teachers have done number sense, place value, equal sign, and the line segmenting. Our 2nd grade kids, we're seeing less and less. So 5th grade had 44, 4th grade had 46, 3rd grade had 26, because they've had this work now for a couple years. And now this year's 2nd graders, they are at the part and the whole, it's operations and problem solving. And this is further than we've ever gotten in our building with intervention work. So we're really excited to see that, because we know that it's being done right during the math core class. And we know that as we see that, then it just makes the next step easier and easier for the kids. So the key thing is what you hear everybody talk about is that our instructional coach, they are the ones that are making the game changer for us. They pull the kids out in the hall, they give them the screener, they take that data, give it to Jenny. Jenny shows the teacher leaders how to do the intervention, then the teachers work on that together in their team meeting, then they start the work, then Jenny re-screens, then we talk about who needs retested, and so on and so on and so on. So it's really been a game changer in our data and our kids' understanding. And I work with a group of 1st graders. We had quite a few of them in the number sense in 1st grade, and which is, they should be expected to have known that from kindergarten. And in the beginning, you know, it wasn't crazy to be there, but when we get ready to leave and we're telling them, good job, you know, you pass out, they're hugging you saying they wish you know, I wish it wasn't over. Like, no, you're glad it's over. You're going back to your room to do more fun things with your friends, you know. But I really think our, you know, Kate Hash, our AEA consultant, says nothing builds kids' confidence more than the ability to know they can. And so that's really what we tried to focus on. Instead of feeling awkward that you're pulled into a small group, we're reminding ourselves that really what we're doing is we're empowering you, because now you know you can. You know, you're not sitting there trying to hide those skills. You're like, I got it now. So, and we do that with reading in the area of whole class foundations, where all of our kids in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade have whole class foundations. So they go for 30 minutes. And the teacher's in the classroom with the title teacher while that's happening. And then the students who are below that come pull out in small groups, and they do that during their small group reading centers. So But just like Julie said, our schedule has really allowed for that, and the other thing is, we are really blessed with the number of Title I staff we have that respond to that, and so that's one of the things we're trying to work on and build in for next year, is how to do that at the middle school to keep that work going too.
I apologize for not knowing this, but your instructional coach, they work with how many classes?
They work with all of our,
So we
yeah.
have 3 instructional coaches for the whole district, and they work with all the buildings.
All the buildings, okay.
Their office is in one specific building, but they go all over.
Okay.
And it's paid through the teacher leadership grant, and so they're full release. They don't have a classroom. They are totally to help other teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I will tell you what,
And
they
administrators.
are absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And they are like, you know, when we have a lot going on at Lakeview, they're all hands on deck. When the middle school's doing something, they go help there. I mean, they are a great group of ladies that work well together and prioritize who needs what when.
And to Mike's point about the integration to the high school, like in math, we use our advisory time, and it's kind of a little different. I think what our advisory time does, it allows teachers to find kids that they need some extra help on, and what that does, it lets them move faster in class. So instead of holding the whole class back because a few kids aren't getting something, they're able to keep the pace up, and then they're able to pull kids in to their advisory.
Is that program you use to schedule that?
We use FlexiSched.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that's kind of how our interventions are kind of individual in that. You know, our math people do really well. I think like Kate Hanks, we've had really good luck with our math consultant that's really kind of got that on board. One of the things I will say about high school reading is, you know, high school, we don't really teach reading, we teach language arts. In this last screening window, there was a lot of heavy writing. That was a lot of writing part of it. So a lot of the classroom focuses in their English classes were on the writing part, and now we're kind of moving back to more reading, some novels, some plays and things like that.
And we've also, sorry.
When I think about high school, when we talk about the dropouts and the kids that are having problems, does this intervention kind of focus on some of them to try to keep them?
We're trying to keep kids,
Trying to keep them
trying
going,
to keep them,
give them
you know,
positive
because high school's
results.
about earning credit.
Yeah.
And, you know, we like to teach them skills so they can earn credit, feel better about themselves, and just, you know, the better kids do, the more likely they are to come back tomorrow.
At the middle school, we have an advisory, but we don't use it like that. Our advisory is first thing every morning, and we do announcements, attendance, say the pledge to the flag, and then the remainder of the period spent on social emotional learning, like emotional stuff that the kids at the middle school deal with, you know, how to be respectful, responsible. They fill out their planners on the beginning of the week, and then at the end of the week, they do a check to make sure they have everything in there, and they get so many live school points, and so that's what that's used for. The intervention time is called Power Hour, and then all kids also have what's called a guided study where they can work on assignments and stuff, but Title I kind of stops after Lakeview, so we don't have title teachers in our building. So a lot of our core teachers have to do class-wide interventions if they have a specific skill that they're seeing. One of the things we've done with the special ed department this year because of KPASH and the AEA support is called Numeracy Project, which once again, the instructional coaches help with that. And it's a program where they can drill down, do diagnostic testing, and figure out exactly what stage and what skills that they need to work on. Instead of working on all fractions, they might just need subtraction of fractions. And then they work on those instead of everything. So it drills down on specific skills to intervene on. Another thing that's different when they hit 6th grade, when we do the A-reader screener, we also do a fluency test too, to see how fluent they are, to see if they still have decoding skills. And after that, then we stop fluency and we only do A reading in 7th and 8th grade, because if they're not fluent, what we found is a lot of kids may not be reading the words per minute that they should according to benchmark, but they understand what they read. They take their time, they may have to reread something, but they can comprehend what they read. So it's more important when they get into secondary that they understand. It's not about reading fast, it's about, can I understand what I just read? And so that kind of switches after 6th grade when they get to the middle school. But I'm excited for next year. Terry's has been visiting with us at the middle school about some ideas for some intervention stuff. So I'm excited about some of the stuff coming down the road. So.
I also think that our math scores are showing an improvement due to the fact that we're using a K-12 curriculum. We are using illustrative math, and that is something that's been the last probably 2 to 3 years, I would say, because we had some COVID in there and a pilot and some things. So I think that you will also continue to see things because it's directly aligned to the core, and then those interventions kind of go with that too. So lots of info there.
An interesting side note on that too, we think about that we typically have a fairly high poverty rate in our community. What the research will tell us is that you'll often see better performance on math than on in high poverty areas. And I think there's something to the effect of like it's more concrete, math is a more concrete subject. So it's just an interesting thing that kind of bears out in our data and data that I've seen kind of in our GPAA area.
So now we're going to go to building specific student achievement, and I'm going to wear my other hat now and talk to you about preschool data. IGDES is a early literacy concept test assessment screener, I guess is the word I should look for. And I've just given you the past few years. You can see that in, I can't see the bottom of my screen, but up there, the 2021 data, we obviously don't have a blue line because the state was switching vendors and that was not ready for us at that time, is why we're missing that piece. But the blue is the fall scores for each year, the green is the winter, and then the spring is the purple-ish color. You can kind of see that we have done some work this year and are already close to where we ended in the spring, so I hope we continue to see that growth. We have really looked at our instruction and how we can better serve our students with this specific information. They're tested on 5 or 6 different areas, kind of like the K1 is on FastBridge. It's very similar to that. It's just the early learning skills for preschool. So they look at book concepts, they look at rhyming, they look at letter sounds, they look at what doesn't belong, which is always interesting, some vocabulary pieces, some things that are hard for our kiddos at first because they haven't always been exposed, but we learn to kind of help them through that with what they need.
Can you stay on that page for a second? So here's one thing that I want to call your attention to as you think about this data. This is norm reference, meaning that it's based on how other kids their age at that time of year test out, rather than criterion reference, which would mean here's a set of skills you should get for the year, 39% have it now, 40%. So this is saying our kids are coming in well below kind of average each year, and then being raised up each window there through what's happening with our preschool program. So I think that's a really interesting piece that's noted, and where the state is looking to make a shift to the state report cards, they're actually reducing how much growth counts for a school district on what's reported out. So this is why a lot of superintendents in our area are fighting against that. Because we do see growth with kids that come in with a lower skill set to begin with. And I think that really is an important piece to call out whether a school is being successful or not.
Yeah, this is just one piece of information we use at the preschool, but it's the one that I can report to you. The other one that we use a lot is what's our GOLD assessment, but it's very individualized and kids in color bands and things, and something that the teachers use to work to increase these scores, but it's definitely very individualized. That's the thing about preschool is every kiddo's been exposed to different things and needs different things. So they work really hard to expose them to different things that they can throughout the day.
Can I ask another question on that? Lisa gave us this sheet with all these different abbreviations, and that one wasn't on there.
Yeah,
How did you forget that? But anyway,
Okay,
what does
let's
that
see.
mean?
I know, I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't know what it
Okay,
is.
but it's for the preschool. That's-
Yeah,
okay.
it's an actual, a screener assessment is what
Okay,
it is.
that's-
And
that's
the
all I
name of
need to
it.
know.
So when they rolled out the FAST test for the elementary, they rolled out IGDES for preschools at the same time.
Okay, yeah, individual growth and development indicators. Honestly, I don't ever spell that out, so I have to look it up every time.
Yeah.
Because anybody in the preschool
preschool world knows INKEYs is what that means, so, yeah.
So there's like, what is it, there's like pictures you have to be able to
Yeah,
identify, there's.
So pictures, rhyming, letter sounds, and they kind of change throughout the, cause like onset and rhyme, and then it goes away and it becomes something else. So, each year or each section, so fall, winter, spring, there's usually 5 assessments. What doesn't belong, it might be like a toothbrush, toothpaste, and I don't know, an apple or something, yeah. And they have to say which one doesn't belong. Just like concepts that are early literacy, early developmental things,
So, real quick, in this, I'm probably gonna answer this myself, but like, the students that took it in the fall, or spring of 22,
uh-huh.
they're done, they aren't considered on the 22, 23?
No, they would be in kindergarten.
Okay.
Yep, no, these are just this is 1 year of data, so they would just be that year of 4-year-old student, and this is only the 4-year-olds, the 3-year-olds do not take this. Yep.
But these are all to connect it back to that science of reading thing, science of reading, phonics, foundational skills.
Indicators,
that's
yep.
done with this.
It's early indicators of how they will be readers, and we see that. We see kids, we also use a program called Countdown that allows, that kind of connects to the kindergarten programming, and has really made a big difference, I think, in what we see kids are able to do. Any other questions about preschool? Okay, so Lakeview is up.
Alright, so, that first one in there again just kind of shows that whole, the fast reading benchmarks, and what, we always talk about is, you know, we hope that all the work we're doing is leading us upwards of that 80%. And, you know, the thing I think that was so disheartening was we saw the COVID fall. And, so like Julie said, we're excited to see that we're headed back upwards there. But, just a piece that we're always mindful of, I think that would probably be where we're at on that document. The next one.
Sorry.
No, you're good, Julie, I was just following along because I can't always read that far away. The next one there, and I know this is just a little bit different with ours, is because we are one school, our school and district data always are the same. Can you kind of see that on that form so you know that? So this is our grade 3. This is the first year that students take the ISAS in our building. They, we do it on the Chromebook just like everyone else does. But the one thing that I think we always try to talk a little bit about is we try to, I always take our data and compare it to the year before, compare it to our conference schools, compare it to our AEA schools, and compare it to our state. We want to make sure that we're always preparing our kids and looking out there with the vision of, can they compete with their colleagues in the South Central Conference? Can they compete with the AEA, GPAA? Can they compete with the state? One piece that I get really excited about because we haven't always seen it is, you know, when we talk about our resources, oftentimes there's a lot of resources financially accounted for to serving our lower performing students. And a few years ago when Rhonda was the curriculum director, she shared, you know, like we've got to be mindful that our students who are high performers are often identified as, you know, talented and gifted learners. We need to make sure that they're growing too. And so we kind of take all 3 of those areas and look at that and say, you know, what portion of our students are exceeding the expected number. So you can kind of see that in our 3rd grade data, and I use the same chart just to kind of help show you that same thing with 4th grade. It's the very same way there. We see the spring 2023 compared to spring 2022, and then down below we kind of check that temperature against what our state level is. So
To kind of give you some perspective on what you're seeing, there's a couple different ways we can look at this ISAS data, right? So we can compare apples to apples. And we can take a cohort through and see what their level of proficiency is in 3rd grade and 4th grade and 5th grade to get an idea of what's happening for that individual group of students. Or you can do comparisons of 3rd grade every year. And so when you're doing that cohort model, you're really seeing what does our system do for a group of kids. When you're doing 3rd grade year to year to year to year, you're saying what is it that where are some of the holes as we do item analysis. We can think about, we typically miss on this type of item every year in this grade, so we're able to go back and review whether our curriculum is truly aligned to what we need to do to be successful in those. So this is a very system look rather than an individual look when you do it this way.
We take out, so we take our class lists that have each teacher on them. So if this was a third grade class, or fourth grade is probably a better example. We take our fourth graders that have their class list and we highlight if they are proficient or not in reading first and then in math. And we compare that to the year before. And quite honestly, we look student for student. So we're gonna look on there and be like, hey, Terry was proficient last year, but she's not this year. Then we kind of want to talk about that. What's her FAST score look like? What's her reading scores look like? Did she get any extra intervention help? Did she have a death in her family or a divorce in her family? Was there a traumatic life experience? Because we do really try to look down through each student to make sure, you know, I always say, the world we live in today, our families can choose any school district, and we've got enough around us. We want to make sure that we're meeting the consumer. So if you come in, Mike, and you're saying, hey, I want to talk to you about my child, we need to know kind of where your child's at and what resources we're spending time and energy on, or what concerns we have and what we need to do. So we tear it down a lot more individually in the classroom with the teachers and our grade level teams. So.
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta
Yeah, I'm
ask.
done.
I don't know what yellow, blue, and purple.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
are we
fair
still the
question.
colors back?
Fair question.
I am so sorry. So, the yellow is non-proficient. I should have said that in the very
Okay,
beginning.
that's
I was
fine.
like,
That's
I
fine.
just asked
Light blue is our proficient, and the dark blue on the right is our students who exceed that. So
Very good, thank you.
I should have said that.
That's okay.
So there's fourth grade and then, here's fifth grade. And
You kind of saw the big bump in fifth grade. I'll tell you what, it was one of the biggest bumps in the AA schools from us over to the river. And that's totally attributed to the work where we started with our fifth grade in the math intervention work. And I couldn't credit it enough. It's our classroom teachers that did that work, and Jenny Durham and Paige Warren that helped guide that work, and Jen Benz, the three of them working with our teachers and getting that planned. And
Really
that,
getting outside of the box.
it did, and it gave, and you know, Kate Ash was the one who said, here's the map of where to go. And so then we really hit that hard last year in fifth grade. It worked with others too, but that is really what has, I mean, it's just like a recipe now. If you don't score this, then we start here, and then after this, we go to this, and then after this, we go to this. So we feel like we've got a pretty systematic approach to responding to intervention in the building now. So there's work to be done there, but I'll tell you what, I say it all the time. Our kids work hard. Our kids are deeply invested. A lot of John Hattie's work says when the kids are doing their own scores, they know them better. We've got Title I teachers and classroom teachers all over the building that say, have you recorded your score yet? Have you charted your score yet? And kids will come out in the hall and tell you what, come look at my chart, you know? And so I feel like everybody's all in down there trying to do what's right for kids. And our kids and families are working hard behind that too.
you'll also see that science is represented in fifth grade. It's only tested in fifth, eighth, and 10th grade. We just didn't forget it. How are middle school?
Okay, so the first chart shows your sixth grade, and you can see there the colors are, it's listed. The light blue is the not proficient, proficient, and then advanced. And so if you put the proficient and the advanced together, just comparing a little bit to last year's, like Mark said, it's different kids in each of those years. But last year, we're down a little bit in LA. It was at 66% last year, and if you add those together, 65. Math, we went up from 50% proficient to 56 overall this year. So kind of mirroring what we're seeing with your FAST data, the same thing. Seventh grade, next one. If you look at that one, we're down a little bit in ELA. We went from 63 last year to 60 this year, overall proficient. Math, we went up from 61 to 65% overall. And so, like I said, it's mirroring the FAST stuff. Eighth grade, total together with proficient and advanced, we went down a little bit from 69 to 60, and math from 68 to 67, just slightly. The thing I'm concerned most about in the 8th grade, like Julie said, we only test 5, 8, and 10. Yeah, for science. And so your science instruction, they do what they call band grades together for assessment. And so they aren't tested till those specific grades, but the things they're tested over are a band of grade levels up to 8th grade. And so we didn't have anybody in the advanced level in science last year, and we dropped a little bit. So we talked about that in my building a little bit, and the teachers were noticing some of the questions that were being asked versus what they're talking. And I'm not sure, from what I'm hearing the teachers say, that the alignment of our curriculum is aligned as much to the Iowa assessments as we would like it to be. So we're looking at that down the road to see what we can do about that. We gave awards last year during our award day for those kids that scored in the advanced level in literacy and math and science. So I didn't have any awards to give in science because no one was in that advanced level. So I'm hoping this year when we take those assessments that I'll be able to give out some advanced level awards on that day. So, questions?
That's some of how we use the data for ISAF, is like how can we look at it as a system and what things are happening. And science is something that, again, wasn't necessarily something that's complete. I mean, it's a dip on 5th and 8th grade and 10th grade, but it wasn't looked at the state. But is one of the proposed changes on the new report card is to add science scores. So we're going to have to start, not that science has never not been important, but something that we're going to have to look at a little bit more in depth and focus on. You know, it's just the time that and the resources that have always been put in at the state level have always been reading and math and really more reading at this point. But I think our district has taken a great initiative in trying to build our math program better.
Yeah, well, and I don't, our science, what I see is good stuff. It's
Yeah.
more project-based. It's not like you read about science and it's a lot of hands-on. They're inquiry-based. They're asking questions and posing problems. And there's a lot of like stuff they put up on the boards and the kids try to think through things and question things. It's not like, oh, here's what you gotta know for the test. It's not taught that way. It's a whole different way of instruction.
It is, and it's conversations that we're just having and making sure that we're giving the kids the best tools that they have and making sure that you know, what they are assessed on is something that we're covering to make sure. We've had that conversation at the high school level and are going to change some way course offerings are happening in science as well. So we're moving in the right direction. It's just not been as big of a priority, I would say, just because it's just not been from the state. So that's something that we're working on in our house. So next up is high school.
High school, so 9th grade here, I have the, I went with our 9th graders, then the state averages, and then reading's on the left, math's on the right. Just, you know, we compare pretty well to the state. I think it was brought up earlier, the advanced kids were a little behind, and that's some things we've worked on to try to get those, move more kids to the advanced level, looking up from that way.
Sorry, are you good with it?
I'm good with that. 10th, we did add that, we had the science in. Again, once again, you see we're pretty close to state, where the state's at all around.
Okay.
And then 11th, 11th math this year was really good, or last year was pretty good. A couple years before we had kind of a low. So I think that's just some of the work our math department's done, some of the alignment they've done. They've talked to other teachers. Like I said, the AEA helped. I think the interventions have all played a big part of that. I think the next one is ACT. This is just a kind of a snapshot of ACTs over the years. You can see there's like, 10 kids. We already had 10 kids take it this year. We will have every junior take it again at the end of April. We started a couple years ago offered it to every junior. We just think it's a good opportunity for those kids. And we get some good data out of it. but that's how we kind of hanging around in there. We're not quite back to pre-COVID numbers yet, but we're working back up toward that. And then the last slide is just a graduation, and I think we do a pretty good job of graduating our kids. I think we have some different paths. The alternative school, meets every day right below us. It really helps connect some of those kids to school, provides them what they kind of need to make sure they can at least, get a diploma, graduate, because that's pretty important.
And again, it also is the free and reduced lunch, so that percentage of that population is what they're talking about for the state or versus Centerville, which we're both of our graduation rates are above the state, which is something.
I was gonna say, when you look at the fact that on the state level, students on free and reduced lunch graduate 7% less of the time in the state of Iowa, our students on free and reduced lunch graduate at a higher rate than the students across the state. So that's kind of a neat item to have there.
Yeah.
And as we continue to add some of those supports that we talked about, like at the last meeting, we can make it where they can still graduate with a higher degree of rigor that you see some of the scores go up along with the continued high graduation. So I think that'll be really nice.
And again, I just want to point out that this data is a little bit older, and it's just because the state hasn't released it. So I didn't want to, I can run reports that kind of get you close, but I just, to compare apples to apples, I wanted to make sure. So it is a little behind, but that's where the state is. It takes them a while to make this all.
One thing that's kind of exciting, I know I've been here, feels like a lot longer sometimes than newer people, but I'm just saying, we are really at a great place right now where we are working as a K-12 team. Like, when we sit down and we talk about hiring people, or we talk about resources or moving people, it is like, okay, the data says this, the numbers say this, it's feedback. It feels so good that we are really trying to span the K-12 plan, and when we talk about interventions, like, what do you need for your interventions, or what are you looking at? How will that work in your time? It just feels like we're just really moving in the right direction as one ship.
On the ISAC, every student takes that.
Hold on a second, Carol.
Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
okay, can we?
Seniors don't take it.
Yeah.
Senior.
And the other thing is, we have some Strat 2 students that are assessed in an alternative way.
Okay.
So that would be the other
But
population.
that's a very small percentage.
Right. I just didn't want to say that.
All right, go ahead, Carol.
Okay, can we back up and look at that ACT data sheet?
Yeah.
Okay, the writing scores are drastically lower than the other areas. What are we doing to address writing in our district at the higher level?
Highest score, I think. They're not scored the
I'm
same.
just.
It's not
scores
scored the same.
The scores are done different, so the
Yeah.
writing score goes from a 2 to a 12.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
But-
Okay.
Yeah,
And we
The
are.
average is between 6 and 7. Did you know that?
I didn't.
The
know.
average score is between 6 and 7.
I knew it was different, I just didn't know what.
So actually, if you look at last year's data, that's a great score if the
It
average.
is. It is.
See, that's why you have to understand the data.
I'm
That
so
was a
glad
good
I asked the
question, though, thanks for
question.
pointing it out.
Yeah.
Great.
We are addressing some writing. We are going to launch an initiative next month called Writing Revolution, and it's where we introduce little snippets of writing in every content, every classroom, which I'm really excited about as well, and that will be a K-12 initiative. Things that we can do in our classroom to help our kids be better writers, so it's not just on our ELA folks, it's on all of them. And just that we write in everything that we do, so just putting that in. So we are addressing it, even though our scores are really good too.
But also,
well-
that's a big part of our PLC work, that when I think we talked maybe again at the table when we did the Tammy session, maybe about how we, at some point, about how we'd seen some holes where maybe we weren't hitting certain standards because we thought another grade was hitting a standard. So as we've gone through the PLC work, the vertical teams this year, we've really worked to identify where those holes are and start to fill them in and start to make sure that we give some accountability for each of those areas to the grade levels where it needs to go. Not a
Great.
few people.
I'm glad I asked the question.
Yes, yeah, good question. Any other questions?
Honey Creek is offering a writer's workshop.
Yeah.
Do we have any students that might?
They gotta go free too.
Yeah, that
We're
information
aware of
is,
that. That's
yeah.
good. That's good.
Author thing.
yeah, the end of the month, it's next weekend or whatever,
I
it
believe it was
was,
shared in creative writing class,
yeah,
or will be this week.
yeah.
I don't know if it was today.
Yeah, so I don't know that we have any students that are going, they were all, invited and, you know, and the information was sent, so I think, and they're being told about it, so, yeah.
I think the hope is eventually, when it lines up, not on spring break, to maybe use some of the creative writing class to, at least when I talked to Delaney, about maybe encouraging some of the creative writing kids to go out to that and partake, because there's some really cool writing happening in there that.
Well, and some of our population is gone on a great band trip, so.
Yeah, I think a good portion of that course is
Yeah.
gone on that
Yeah.
band trip.
Florida writing. Well, thank you. If you have any questions or want any more information, we will try to bring back those FAST scores for you in like I said, probably June, because we have all the month of May to take it. So we can bring those back to you then.
Okay, you've given us lots of information. Most of it
Okay, thank
looks
you.
encouraging, if not good. But you haven't told me what we can do.
I think just you always being so welcoming the idea of what we need. I think at this point, it's just we need some more time to work through working as a K-12. That's not something that has always happened. I think looking at curriculums, and one of the things we're looking at is social studies curriculum, because we haven't focused on that because it's not reported to anywhere, but it is important that our students have that accessibility. So I think your willingness to always be like, tell us what you need and how we can get there, I think is what I would say. Just your support of that is huge, but that's just my opinion.
So it sounds like the illustrative math move to put the entire district on that is paying off.
Yes. That doesn't always work, I would say like in every content, because they're not all streamlined like that. I think math is a lot easier to do that because it is so concrete and so sequential, where reading and writing, you know, that's something that we'll look at as we go through, but I don't know that it's always gonna work like that, is what I would
Because
say.
if I remember, one of the things that was kind of presented to the board was to replace some, and I don't remember which buildings it was, some of the math earlier than we would have to get everybody on the same set of curriculum, and that was a lot of money to spend, and it looks like that's paying off.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think what that was is we replaced math and reading again at the same time instead of doing it in cycles. So yeah, I think that has paid off. I think, you know, looking at some new curriculums, looking at what more of our teachers are teaching with the standards is really important. I think the vertical teams that we have done this year, K-12, in every content has allowed us to really understand the holes, the gaps, and moving us in the right direction. So I think at this time, I would say we don't need anything specifically, but just want you to know that we're in the process of working through a lot, and our teachers are working really hard to do what we're asking of them.
And I think just to tag on to Mike's question, I think this is where you're coming from, is a month ago when when we as a board did board assessment, what are we doing as a board? And what are we gonna do this year? There's two areas of focus. One is student learning, the other one is district culture.
Right.
And I think that's kind of comes from, this is right where the two things we as a board need to get better at are those two areas that we're gonna work on as a board, so.
One thing that you did, I think that already just tonight did that was really helpful, is when you are asking questions, you don't really have an outsider perspective, but it's less of a in the trenches in the moment perspective, and kind of maybe triggers for us that, okay, this might be a good tool to use when talking to a parent about their kid, or this might be something when we're talking about student success with a parent, maybe they won't understand that piece right away, and we need to be ready to explain that. So I think that's, when we come and present these things, questions are probably one of the really big things that we need from you all, because for us, it starts to become a little commonplace and everyday, right? So You know, I go to watch Kevin do stuff with his plane, and for him, that's easy, he can do that off the top of his head, but for me, it's like, holy cow, how does that even work?
His boys were over at my house this weekend, I let him flight simulator. And he had to fly it too, which was a lot of fun.
You know, the one thing I would say though, that, just because I have peers that are in this work in other places, the one thing you do that I think is, maybe goes unnoticed, is you trust us and our teachers. And that goes a long ways, because like when Julie brought Haggerty in, we didn't have to vet that through the world to get it here. Julie's like, here's what we're hearing, here's what we're seeing, here's the data. We gotta have kindergarten start doing this 15 minutes a day. Boom, done. Added it to our block, and then we watched the data come. When we talk to you about, you know, there's students with dyslexia, and the best practice is this, you didn't question whether we had done our legwork. You were like, well, if you guys think that's the best, then buy it, implement it, and let us know what we can do next. And the end of the day is, it's all good stuff, but it's really the delivery that's changing lives. And the people who are delivering it closest to us are our teachers. And so I just say thanks for that, for appreciating and making that work. We got a lot of good people doing it.
I guess I like the bad news as well as the good. I can't do anything about the good news. I might be able to do something about the bad news, so don't be afraid to clue us in.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think we've done a lot of great conversations this year on things that we can do to tweak, and I hope we see the benefit of that. And I think the thing we always have to remember, and Mark and I talk a lot about this when we do get to talk, is like how we want it to be like that, and some of these things are going to take a little time to get the momentum and going. As I think we're seeing in the math with what has now been 3 years of K-12 instruction is really now starting to pay off, and some of those interventions are happening and things. So I think, you know, it's a slow process, so just keep going on the journey with us.
And to speak to those people, one thing that makes me really proud as we've done the vertical work with our staff this year is you can get into this and look at data and look at where we're going, and it would be very easy for me to blame the person who taught the grade in front before me and say, well, gosh, if you'd have taught them, I'd be just fine. And our people are doing a great job of staying away from that kind of talk and saying, what do we need to do as a system? Because that's a real easy problem to fall into with these things. And I think we've been super happy with the response of our teachers with these vertical meetings and the professionalism that we get towards, you know, it's our problem to take care of, and it's our kids as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a huge deal.
I think it's really exciting, you know, as I start planning for next year, which seems crazy, but the amount of PD, the amount of things, we talked about it today at our principal meeting, we just have so much, but we're doing the work and we're gonna see the results, so I can't wait to see it in a couple more years.
Okay, anything else? All right, thanks for the report out. Oh, me, sorry.
It's your turn.
It's my turn. Item F, approve personnel business procedures. We got a few in our folder.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve personnel business procedures as outlined in our board packet. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Those are approved. I think that constitutes our principal report also, unless anybody wants to add anything.
And you guys want to add something?
I just have that one on the thing, I'll get that here.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, there's also one.
Yeah. Yes.
Resignation on the
Yeah,
table.
resignation on the table, yeah. I guess, do you have anything? I know it doesn't say superintendent report, but I don't know if you wanted to add anything real quick.
No, I think we maybe, yep.
I was just gonna, the Gear Up grant that we got to implement with the 7th grade this year, Mrs. Osleson, that you approved her to do that, is gonna begin tutoring with some of our kids tomorrow night after school. So she's been contacting some parents and getting that all set up, and so I'm really excited about that opportunity for our middle school kids, so. She's planning her, Andy's kind of leading it, I mean, he is leading it because I don't have time, so I just want to give him the credit. But he's working with her, and they're planning a family night to introduce the program to all the 7th grade parents and kick it off. So giving you some updates on that as we keep going. So I hope maybe Andy and her can come one night to the board meeting and kind of present some stuff once they get it all going.
So, we did get an email, from the IJAG folks, so this kind of, the curriculum director is, she's a principal, not a principal, but, there may be a donor company donating to pay for IJAG for some high schools around the state. This is something that we pursued earlier, in the year, that looked like a really good deal. It's a job skill training program. So Lisa and I need to get you on the invite, have a meeting with the guys from IJAG, on Thursday, I think it is, to find out about that, because he reached back out to me and said, hey, I know you said you're just not sure about money, I might have something for you. So keep your fingers crossed. That could be a free deal maybe even for us if all goes according to plan, or at least very, very cheap to get something great.
Another layer for those kids that we were talking about.
Okay, so then we'll move to board takeaways. I'm going to start with Mike. I never start with,
Yeah.
well, I've been starting, I never start with me, so.
I feel honored.
Well, it's your turn.
No, I think, I really, really, really appreciate the data and when this stuff comes in, because as a board member, that's what I feel I need to know. And I hope it continues with many other, not just district, but even certain programs and things like that. But then that to me shows us if decisions we're making are working or not. So I really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for setting that up.
Tom?
Well, I thought the data was really interesting, and I thought the one little fact on the data that I thought was the neatest thing was that our kids on free and reduced lunches are graduating. I think that is exciting at a better rate than the rest of the state. You know, we're not gonna be as good as some schools in the state, we know that. But if we're going in the right direction, what the heck? And we know we got more poverty in this area than lots of other areas. And, we just have to really work hard. And I'm so proud of the way you talk about how the teachers work for that. That's exciting.
Mr. Thomas?
I really like the student presentations. I could have some of that every meeting.
Yeah, that is nice.
Those gals were very dynamic and kind of spot on.
Yeah.
With a lot of their delivery, and I hope they do well at state.
They're both super nice kids too.
Yeah.
I think having student presentation one of the kind of best changes to the board meetings we had, because it's just, to me, it's a highlight. I agree, absolutely, so. Okay. Mine's, what's that? Carol, do you want to chime in on something?
Sure. I never thought I would say this, but I really enjoyed the data presentation. I think that principals did an excellent job of compiling that and presenting it in such a way that it made it, easy to understand. And yeah, good job.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. One more thing.
Go ahead.
I will be back from California this weekend, so I will see you all at the next meeting in person.
Okay. Well, we know you're out there doing some important family stuff, so.
Yes. Thank you for your understanding.
That April 8th meeting is shaping up to be a doozy, so you have to watch everybody. I'm excited.
It's a monster.
Yeah, it's got some stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
What I'm gonna say is, my takeaway is, or my comment is, this is scheduled to be a work session, but what we had is a regular board meeting. And in talking with Mark and Lisa, it seems like every single work session we have, we end up having to have a regular meeting. in order to do some business, because you can only approve things in a regular meeting, you can't do it in a work session. And at the end of the day, we have that every single work session. Lisa has to do 2 sets of meeting minutes. It's extra work. So we decided that all we were gonna have was a regular set meeting instead of a regular meeting and a work session. I have never understood a work session. When I put my papers in to run for the board the first time, you came in and you saw me and said, I want to invite you to come to the work session. I had no idea what a work session was. And the only thing that I've ever figured out is a work session, you just don't vote at stuff, you just talk about stuff. But you're here, you're doing the work of the board. So, unless there's any objections, our second meeting of the month will no longer be work sessions, it'll just be regular meetings, just to reduce some of the administrative agenda creation and meeting minutes.
As long as we don't put the word approval on an item, if we put review, like we were hopefully gonna be able to do for the 400 series today, then, you know, you can have all the discussion you want,
Yeah.
just don't.
We can still do the work, but it's less bureaucratic, is that a good word?
It's always mystified me as to why we called it a work session and couldn't vote. The work will get done much faster.
Yeah.
Once a month is just not often enough to run an organization like this.
We're still gonna have the 2 meetings a month as scheduled, but we're just not gonna call it a work session. We'll just, if there's something we just need to talk and discuss, we'll just talk and discuss. But that way we don't have to close one meeting and
open another
one.
Very good.
Thank you for that.
I think that makes Lisa a little bit happy, so anyways. So administrators, thank you for the staff, for the work and getting reports and all that kind of stuff, because that is gonna be a board focus for the next year's, like I said earlier, is gonna be the student learning and culture, so. With that, motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second to adjourn, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, have a good evening.